Chapter 6. The invasion begins. Emperor Marcus Aurelius stood on the grand podium of the imperial palace, his figure bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. His regal armor gleamed, reflecting the aura of an indomitable leader. Before him, a vast assembly of senators, generals, and the whole empire that looked at the transmission. Citizens of the empire, loyal senators, and valiant warriors, today, we stand on the precipice of a momentous decision. The Drakavians have razed one of our city, and they invaded one of our solar systems, slain our kin, and sought to break our spirit. But hear me now, for their actions have kindled within us a fire that will not be extinguished until justice is wrought. Long have we been known for our wisdom, our philosophy, and our pursuit of peace. Yet, there are times when even the most noble of hearts must embrace the mantle of the avenger. We shall be their reckoning, the force that will undo their hubris and bring them to their knees. Let the Drakavians know that every drop of human blood spilled shall be avenged 1,000-fold. We shall march to their lands, not as mere conquerors, but as harbingers of destruction. Our soldiers will descend upon them with the fury of a tempest, and our weapons shall sing the song of retribution. Onward, to victory and vengeance. Let the Drakavians tremble, for the wrath of the empire is upon them. With those final words, the assembly's roar echoed through the halls, a resounding declaration of their resolve. Somewhere in hyperspace, an armada of 120 ships that contained 4 dreadnoughts, 6 aircraft carriers, 10 battleships, 30 cruisers, 30 destroyers, 20 corvettes and 20 troop carriers were floating towards their destination, which was the Zeta Trianguli system. This armada was the 30th fleet under the command of Admiral Darius, where at this moment they were listening to the voice of Emperor Marcus Aurelius that resounded in all the speakers in the entire fleet. His speech instilled in everyone the desire for revenge, anger, and thirst for blood. On board the flagship Vengeance, Admiral Darius sat thoughtfully in his chair. I was born into a family with a long lineage of military service. I was destined from a young age to follow in the footsteps of my ancestors, growing up on the colony world of Nova Prime. I was instilled with a strong sense of patriotism and a deep respect for the values of courage, integrity, and sacrifice. In Terran Military Academy, I have excelled in both academic studies and combat training. My natural leadership abilities quickly became apparent, earning me the admiration and respect of my peers and instructors alike. The challenges and trials, from skirmishes with rogue pirates to full-scale conflicts with them, each experience has shaped me into the seasoned tactician and fearless leader that I am today, honing my skills and fortifying my resolve in the crucible of war. But I'm a little terrified. Who would have thought that the people from above created such an abomination, a weapon that is so terrifying? Supernova is a torpedo that can destroy an entire solar system in an instant and is on board my ship. This is a surprise. I don't know if I should cry or laugh, but that doesn't matter now. Finally, the time has come to put my skills to work. With that, Admiral Darius gets up from his chair and looks at his monitor. How much time do we have until we get out of hyperspace, Lieutenant Sarah? 20 minutes, sir. We have already started to detect Drakavian ships, sir. How many ships are in the system? 250, sir. At that moment, the Admiral puts his hand on the intercom and announces, "Everyone at the battle stations, we are dealing with 250 enemy ships. Once we get out of hyperspace, get in formation and open fire. We need to clear the space for our boys to disembark. Don't spare anyone and give them hell." On the other side, Thrakvarn surveyed the battlefield from the bridge of his flagship, the fearsome dreadnought, Wrath of Dravuk. He didn't know when the enemy fleet would appear, but he knew that it would appear for sure, and with the will of his ancient people. Maybe he will keep them in place in the system. Suddenly, one by one, the Terran ships began to emerge from hyperspace. The vast expanse of space trembled with the thunderous roar of engines as the two opposing fleets converged upon one another, their intentions clear and their resolve unwavering. On one side, the proud vessels of the Terranian Dominion, each ship a gleaming bastion of human ingenuity and strength. On the other, the formidable armada of the Drakavians, their reptilian warships bristling with deadly weapons and fierce warriors. As the distance between the two fleets closed, Admiral Darius stood upon the bridge of his flagship, the mighty dreadnought, invincible, his gaze fixed upon the approaching enemy. Beside him, General Meng barked orders to the crew, his voice echoing with authority and determination. The human fleet sprang into action, each vessel moving with practiced precision as they formed a formidable defensive line. The dreadnoughts took up positions at the center of the formation, their massive cannons primed and ready to unleash devastation upon the enemy. Flanking them were the aircraft carriers, their fighter squadrons launching into space like a swarm of deadly insects. On the Drakavian side, High Warlord Therac surveyed the battlefield from the bridge of his flagship, the fearsome dreadnought, Wrath of Dravuk, his scaled visage twisted into a snarl of anticipation as he beheld the approaching human fleet, his yellow eyes burning with the primal hunger for battle. Prepare the fleet for combat. All ships, assume attack formations. We shall show these humans the true might of the Drakavian Empire. Therac bellowed, his voice reverberating through the corridors of the ship. The Drakavian armada surged forward, their ships weaving and darting through space like predatory beasts on the hunt. The dreadnoughts led the charge, their massive hulls bristling with weaponry. Behind them, the cruisers and destroyers formed a deadly wall of firepower, while the corvettes flanked the enemy, ready to strike from the shadows. As the two fleets clashed, a storm of energy and fire erupted across the void, illuminating the darkness of space with bursts of light and explosions. The human ships unleashed a barrage of missiles and plasma fire, while the Drakavians responded in kind with volleys of energy blasts and kinetic projectiles. In the midst of the chaos, the dreadnoughts of both sides locked horns in a brutal exchange of firepower, their massive cannons unleashing devastation upon one another. The Invincible weathered the storm, its shields holding firm against the onslaught of Drakavian fire. Meanwhile, the aircraft carriers launched wave after wave of fighters and bombers, their sleek forms streaking through space like shooting stars as they engaged the enemy ships with precision and skill. The Drakavian corvettes attempted to intercept them, but the human pilots proved too agile and elusive, dodging enemy fire with ease. As the battle raged on, it became increasingly clear that the human fleet held the upper hand. The combined firepower of their dreadnoughts, battleships, and cruisers overwhelmed the Drakavian forces, decimating their ranks and scattering their ships like leaves in the wind. In a final, desperate gambit, High Warlord Therac ordered a full retreat, his voice filled with fury and frustration as he conceded defeat. The remaining Drakavian ships fled into the depths of space, leaving behind the wreckage of their fallen comrades. Of the 250 ships he had, only his ship and 2 cruises remained, and slowly but surely hope began to leave him. This time, he lost not only ships, but an entire solar system with millions of people. What will happen to his people? This question echoes in his head again and again. Putting his hands on his head, tears began to fall from his eyes. It had been decades since he had cried. Chapter 7. The Demons That Call Themselves Humans. The atmosphere of Zeta Trianguli 4 crackled with tension as the Terran Dominion's invasion force descended upon the planet's surface. From the skies above, dropships streaked through the clouds, their hulls bristling with armed soldiers, ready to claim the world from Drakavian tyranny, supported by artillery from destroyers and frigates that were in low orbit. Among the invasion force was Captain Ivan, a seasoned warrior whose name was spoken in hushed tones among both friend and foe alike. He is a seasoned veteran of the Terran Dominion, known for his exceptional leadership skills, tactical prowess, and unwavering dedication to his comrades and the cause of humanity. With a commanding presence and a steely resolve, he leads by example on the battlefield, inspiring those under his command to push past their limits and achieve victory against overwhelming odds. Despite the rigors of war, Captain Ivan remains steadfast in his commitment to uphold the values of honor, courage, and justice, earning him the respect and admiration of all who serve alongside him. He stood at the helm of his dropship, his gaze fixed upon the sprawling landscape below as he awaited the signal to deploy. Inside the dropship, the atmosphere was tense, but focused as the soldiers prepared for the imminent descent. Weapons were checked and rechecked, gear secured, and final words exchanged between comrades in arms. All units, prepare for deployment. The command crackled over the intercom, and Captain Ivan felt a surge of adrenaline course through his veins. With a deafening roar, the dropship's thrusters ignited, sending it hurtling towards the surface below. The ground rushed up to meet them, and Captain Ivan braced himself as the vessel touched down with a jolt, kicking up clouds of dust and debris. The moment the ramp lowered, Captain Ivan and his squad surged forth, their boots hitting the ground with purpose. They were met by a multitude of projectiles, plasma, and artillery. Around them, the landscape stretched out in all directions, a mix of rugged terrain and sprawling settlements. Captain Ivan rallied his troops with a resounding cry. With weapons raised and hearts filled with resolve, they charged forward, their boots pounding against the earth as they advanced towards the enemy positions. The battle raged on with ferocity unmatched, the air thick with the acrid scent of gunpowder and the deafening roar of explosions. Captain Ivan led his troops with unwavering resolve, his voice ringing out above the din as he directed their movements with precision and skill. Their mission was clear: to establish a foothold on Zeta Trianguli 4 and destroy the Drakavian occupiers by any means necessary. As they advanced, they encountered pockets of resistance from entrenched Drakavian forces. But Captain Ivan and his soldiers were relentless. He saw how his soldiers fell. Those who were wounded fell and got up again and go on shooting. He was part of many battles, but he never saw so much determination and anger in his comrades as today. Pressing forward with unwavering determination and overwhelming firepower, through sheer grit and tenacity, and with air support, they fought their way through enemy defenses. What he couldn't secure, he called the artillery and the air support so they would be destroyed. Death from above, death from the ground. They didn't stop. They had to, securing key strategic locations and pave the way for the larger invasion force to follow. More and more troops landed on the planet, unleashing destruction and bloodbaths, advancing more and more into the heart of the continents. The Drakavian fought bravely, trying to repel every assault, but it was in vain. Those who could no longer fight committed suicide, because it was a shame in their culture to be taken as a prisoner. And those who could fought to the last man. For a month the invasion continued. The planets began to fall one by one into the hands of the Terranian Dominion. Zeta Trianguli system became in history as the graveyard of Drakavians. Among the 7 habitable planets lived 25 billion Drakavians, now almost extinct. From all these bad things, good things, it appeared, the 3 races that were in slavery, under the Drakavian whip, were now free, and that brought a new life for them. Aboard the flagship Vengeance, Admiral Darius and General Meng, they were looking at the aftermath of the battle. Admiral Darius, General Meng, we have many losses. Not only that, but we also have a humanitarian disaster on our hands with all the people we have freed. General Meng, indeed. I have already composed a report and sent it to those above. Now, we have to wait for their answer. Meanwhile, we have to ensure the defense in the system. Admiral Darius, now we have to rest, regroup, and formulate a plan for the next system. General Meng, indeed. Chapter 8. Feelings. In the Zeta Trianguli 4 system, among the 7 habitable planets, lies the planet called Elanath. This planet is inhabited by ancient people called Elvorians. The Elvorians, an ancient and enigmatic race, trace their origins back to the mystical forests of Eloria. They were once guardians of the planet's natural balance, living in harmony with the flora and fauna that surrounded them. For millennia, the Elvorians lived in an era known as the Age of Serenity. During this time, they developed a profound connection with nature and magic, mastering the arcane arts and becoming unparalleled healers and sages. As time progressed, the Elvorians entered an industrial age, marked by rapid technological advancement and the precipice of space exploration. The Elvorians were on the verge of launching their first interstellar vessels. Their ambition was fueled by a desire to explore the cosmos, discover new worlds, and establish peaceful relations with other races. The future seemed bright as they prepared to take their first steps beyond their home planet. However, Their dreams were shattered by the arrival of the Drakavians, a ruthless and warlike species. The Drakavians, driven by their insatiable thirst for conquest, invaded Elanath with overwhelming force. Despite the Elvorians' advanced technology and magical prowess, they were ill-prepared for the sheer brutality and technological superiority of the Drakavian war machine. The Drakavians swiftly conquered Elanath, imposing their harsh rule over the Elvorian people. The once thriving cities became occupied territories, and the Elvorians were forced into servitude. Their dreams of space exploration were replaced by the harsh reality of Drakavian domination. The Elvorians were subjected to oppressive control, their resources exploited, and their culture suppressed. And now, after 200 years of subjugation, they are free, liberated by a species called humans. In the capital city of Eloria, 3 individuals were waiting for the human delegation. These were taller than humans. They possess slender, agile bodies that seem almost weightless. Their skin varies in shades of pale green to deep emerald, reflecting their connection to nature. Elvorians have striking, almond-shaped eyes that shimmer with hues of gold, silver, or violet, giving them an otherworldly appearance. Their hair, ranging from silvery white to deep forest green, often cascades down their backs like flowing waterfall. At the same time on Dravuk Prime, the capital city of Zargath and the temple of worship, Zarana, the war priestess sat in a dark room in silence. Where did it all go wrong? I was born into the ruling house of the Drakavian Empire, the House of Karzav. My childhood was filled with rigorous training, both physical and mental, as I learned the arts of war, strategy, and governance. My parents pushed me to excel in every endeavor, instilling in me a deep sense of duty and an unrelenting drive to prove myself. In the Imperial War Academy, I quickly distinguished myself as a prodigy. I mastered various forms of combat, from hand-to-hand fighting to commanding fleets in simulated space battles. My strategic acumen and combat prowess earned me the respect of my peers and instructors alike. I subjugated rebellious star systems on the fringes of the Empire, and I have led many invasions. I thought we were unstoppable. How wrong I was. Did we wake up something that shouldn't be woken up? For the first time in her life, Princess Zarana felt a mixture of emotions: fear, anxiety, anger. For the first time in her life, she felt like the prey instead of the hunter. Princess Zarana is awakened by a voice from her thoughts. We received a new report from Zeta Trianguli 4, the servant says as he hands her some papers. While reading the report, the princess's eyes grew bigger and bigger. By the god, she was screaming at the top of her lungs. In the report it was written how they lost 2 fleets and the entire solar system. Back on the planet Elanath, the central plaza of the Elvorians' capital was full of people, from children to adults and the elderly. Everyone was waiting for the liberators to appear. They had seen the soldiers patrolling until now, but today was the day when the human delegation officially come. Many thoughts float among the crowd: happiness, anxiety, worry. After all, no one knew what tomorrow might bring. In the sky, a civilian ship was making its easy descent through the clouds, accompanied by 4 fighter planes. The ship was descending slowly until it touched the ground. The door opens and 6 individuals come out. There were 4 men and 2 women. These people represent the 5 big families plus the royal family. In the background, a team of 10 elite troops stood vigilant. These troops were led by Captain Ivan. He and his team were chosen to provide security details for the delegation of diplomats.